What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Double Coverage, the premier NFL podcast of the Gin Sports Network. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Tuesday, the 9th of September, the dawn and the dusk of the eve almost is upon us for the Gin Sports Network Challenge 6. Can't wait for this weekend. Going to be a hell of an event. I'm really looking forward to it. A lot of great people are going to be blessed and blessing me and blessing everybody in being a huge part of what makes this event so great, what makes it so awesome to not only put on but to be a part of. It's really a great event for everyone. So I'm looking forward to it. A lot of people are looking forward to it. They've already reached out to me, uh, expressing that, and I hope those messages keep coming in because I'm really excited for this event. And every time it comes around, it's a blessing to put it on for the people and for a great cause. So we got a great show in store for you guys tonight, talking about the Week 1 slate of NFL games. A lot has taken place. A lot has surprised us. A lot has confirmed our preconceived notions of the NFL season. And it just goes to show we're going to go over the winners and losers for Week 1 in fantasy. Now, let's be honest. Let's be honest. The rankings, the pre-draft rankings, when they're giving players power rankings and things like that, and they're putting them at a certain level in the draft room, you have to learn to read through the bullshit with that. Because if you're not reading between the lines and just reading what the numbers are saying, you could be set up for disappointment. Okay. Now, it's very true in a lot of things, but especially fantasy. Past performance does not guarantee future results. And it couldn't be more true in fantasy because really you're looking at players that are playing different opponents. You got a lot of guys that came in through the draft. You got a lot of trades that took place. So to look at power rankings broadly, now you should be able to take them into account for majority of the stats that are in the columns alongside the name in the draft room. But you can't really make any judgments. And now let's be honest. Let's just tell everybody how it is right now. Fantasy is a lot of luck. There's a lot of luck involved. When looking at week 1 matchups, obviously you're not going to make your roster off the draft, something that's going to be able to be a one-size-fits-all, a Swiss Army knife, if you will, against every opponent that they will face throughout the course of a season. There's a lot of unknown factors. You got injuries. You got how certain offenses will play against certain defenses, how certain schemes will mount up against other schemes. These things can't be broken down to a formula that is going to work every single time. There's a lot of chance involved. There's a lot of luck involved. So take that into account. Now, I won't call it luck, but I'm basically 2-0 because I won in my one league and I won the other league in week one. Now, I don't want to act like I'm too big for my britches. I don't want to act like I'm on my high horse because that's just not who I am. But at the same time, I want to be able to reflect and also acknowledge that I was 8th, which is last, and 10th, which is last, respectively, in each draft. So be it as it may, draft order doesn't matter, folks. Draft order does not matter, especially in the first, second, third, fourth. I'd say going up to the 5th round, draft order really doesn't matter at all because if you are drafting in a snake format, you can consider all of these factors and when you will pick certain players. Now, you have to be a little bit strategic. There's a lot of guys out there that do fantasy that don't know how to do fantasy. They don't know how to draft a team. They might claim to be the biggest and baddest in the fantasy sports world. But when draft time comes and once draft time ends, it really becomes clear who knows how to draft and who doesn't know what the hell they're doing. So that has to be acknowledged. It can be seen easily. The writing is on the wall immediately after the scores get posted, after Monday Night Football. After last night, we saw the writing on the wall. There wasn't a lot of last-minute stuff that was going to happen unless you had some players in the Vikings. In that case, you had some comeback potential. uh, we'll put it. So you got your winners, you got your losers, you got your guys that stood out. C-Mac put up 23.2. Now, nobody expected him to play, with the calf sprain. I didn't expect him to play. I know he's a especially early in the season, a huge liability when it comes to any fantasy team. I was impressed with him. Deebo Samuel, now he's a Swiss Army knife. He's a guy that's going to get you in and out of situations, in good situations and out of bad situations. He's very good at doing that. He's like a can opener. He's going to get you out of a pickle real quickly. And that's why I drafted him on my team. I actually didn't start him. I don't believe I started him, but he put up 22.6 and is doing a great job. Michael Penix. Now, he's one that I was looking at kind of to do something special for the Falcons, especially. Okay. They got a big loss to the Bucs. Obviously, I got Baker Mayfield. I'm a little bit biased towards Baker Mayfield and his ability to play quarterback. Yes, I did pick him up in the 7th or 8th round, but we're not going to talk about that. It really doesn't matter. Really, if your skill players are converting, if they're putting points on the board for their team, you don't have to worry about your quarterback as much. Now, obviously, he's got to be the facilitator. You got to get him to put up at least 15, 20, 25 points if you're lucky, even in a loss situation, putting up that much. And that's exactly what Penix did, 24.02 points in their loss against the Bucs. So that's pretty good. And I'm expecting more from him. I'm expecting him to crest into the 30s, at least high 20s week after week. Now, similar to Patty Mahomes, right? Now, he put up 26 plus points in their loss against the Chargers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And it is what it is. Okay, a loss is a loss. I could really give a shit if the Chiefs won that game anyway. Now, we got Patty Mahomes for a reason. We got him for a reason because he's a quarterback that you can count on. It's a quarterback that's going to stay healthy. He's going to take risks, but he's going to take calculated risks. And he's going to do what he has to do to win the football game. Now, those are things that you can look at as intangibles. You can look at things like that and be like, okay, well, where can we measure that? Other than the stats, the raw stats, the passing yards, the completions, the attempts, the QBR. Listen, you can get lost in the weeds with a lot of tangible stats. I'm concerned with the intangible abilities, the intangible, I don't even know what you call them. You can call them attributes, the intangible attributes within any certain quarterback. Now, I'm talking about the quarterback because the quarterback has a lot of different ways that he can gain points for his team and for the fantasy team. So think about these things when you're looking at who to draft and when to draft certain players. Obviously, it's too late for that, but I'm going to give that information because it's after the draft, one. And second of all, you're going to forget this shit by next year. So I don't give a I'll tell it to you again next year. And I hope I will. Justin Herbert, 27.92, big win. I saw a lot of grit. I saw a lot of athleticism from Justin Herbert, something that I haven't really seen in years past. So that's a breath of fresh air. He's obviously been putting work in to gain some agility, to gain some athleticism. Now, he's always been a mobile quarterback. Okay, he's not like a stick-in-the-mud quarterback like Jared Goff. He's going to get activated. He's going to scramble. That's expected. I expect to see that. But I just seen it on a whole nother level come this season, and that's what we wanted to see. And that's what really all quarterbacks, regardless of their physical skill as a quarterback. Now, there's certain things you can do, regardless of what that skill is. You can always work on your agility. You can always work on your speed. You can always work on your athleticism, your movement potential. If you're too heavy, lose some weight. If you're too skinny, put some muscle on. It's a great opportunity to put some muscle on. Okay. And not only that, but maybe do a couple wind sprints, do some HIIT workouts, do some jump boxes. All right. I mean, this stuff is not rocket science. And you'd think these guys have everything and some to gain the ability to perform on the field, and they just don't do it. Now, some guys don't have to, and they can still perform at a very high level without really being very athletic. But you're putting a hell of a lot of weight on your line, and Be it as it may, it might be your tailback, it might be your fullback that's throwing a crucial block for you just to get you a couple more seconds back there to get that pass that leads to a touchdown. So these are the things you got to think about when you're picking a quarterback. Now, you just want to see these qualities. You got to look for the intangible qualities. They're not going to be in the left or right columns. Scrolling your eyes through the box score, or scrolling your eyes across a draft board. You're not going to see those qualities on a draft board. So keep that in mind. Aaron Rodgers, very impressed with Aaron Rodgers in a big win against Aaron Glenn and the New York Jets. He came out and publicly said in a press conference, I'm sure everyone's seen the video, I'm happy to beat anyone and everyone associated with the New York Jets. So there's obviously some bad blood there. That's some uncovered information that we might never see. It might never see the light of day, but that sheds some light on the animosity that still exists there. Daniel Jones, 29.48 points for the Colts. Wow, what a win. And what a performance. I mean, you want to talk about a quarterback that really didn't show any promise. Didn't show any potential for success at any point. Danny Dimes. We expected him to do great things, especially for New York and the Giants when they had all the tools that they had. And they still have a lot of them. Didn't perform, didn't convert, didn't produce. But now it looks like he's turned a new leaf, and so is Aaron Rodgers. See, sometimes you just got to shift around the puzzle pieces a little bit. There might be a better fit somewhere where originally where you tried to force a puzzle piece, it didn't fit quite right, but you tried to force it in there anyway. You played him through a season. This guy looks like he's terrible, dog shit, basically. Shouldn't even be putting on pads. And then the following year, the same guy at a different regime is doing great things. That's the story with Danny Dimes. Justin Fields also put up 29. And Emeka Egbuka with 23.6. That's big. That's big for a guy of his stature. But it's big. It's big. You expect these guys to put up big points. You expect them to catch themselves and find themselves in a shootout in week one. And that's what we saw. We had some losers as well. Joe Burrow with 8.82 points, absolutely piss poor. On my list, I have the Detroit Lions offense, which is just piss poor, terrible. And we're really starting to see the cracks in the foundation with the Detroit Lions. A lot of things that I've shed light on going into the regular season and even following and leading up to the end of the playoffs last season. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but listen, there's certain things that have to take place for a team to be good. You can win off a fluke. You can have a winning streak off a fluke, or off counting on guys being healthy. I'm not saying their win streak or any win streak at any point in the season for the Lions last season was a fluke. I'm saying that they skated by in a lot of sketchy situations, sticky situations that maybe they couldn't do again. Maybe no team could do again. So that has to be acknowledged that there's cracks in the foundation. And it begs the question, what the hell are they going to do about it? We've yet to see the answer to that. A.J. Brown with 1.8 points. Terrible. Piss poor. Tyreek Hill with 8 points. Terrible. The Dolphins are probably the worst team in the NFL right now. Okay, they are definitely on my shit list. And I won't be looking to take them in any sports bets until I see some major changes down there in Miami. Wow, it's terrible. Bo Nix with 6.84 points. You got to get more out of a quarterback that knows what he's doing by now. He's strapped with great weapons on his offense. You got guys that want to break out, that want to have a great season. That's just not good enough. Not good enough. Period. End of story. I mean, I can say it till I'm blue in the face. There's tons of other guys on this list. Obviously, even Patty Mahomes, mentioned him earlier. He put up some great points for me. I mean, the list goes on and on of guys that performed, that played well, and they might not have been the next up. in the draft. You might have to scroll a little bit, believe it or not. You might have to scroll a little bit. Okay, Baker Mayfield coming out with a big win, 22.58 points. James Cook, 21.2. Puka Nacua, he's questionable at the moment, but 23.10. And Kincaid of the Buffalo Bills putting up 14.8. That's big. And Chuba Hubbard with 17.9. Now these guys, you expect them to do well. All right. I also have Drake May, and he put up 16.78, which I expect him to do good. Now you expect Bo Nix to get a number similar to that. Maybe not quite 20, but pushing 20 pretty closely. And I got to take my hat off to Zay Flowers and Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman put up 20 on the dot. Zay Flowers with 28.1. Now, I might be giving away some good information, but I'm happy to do it. Even Javonte Williams with 20.4. You got these skill players that are putting up numbers. You got to put them on your roster. You got to see their potential before that. You got to look into the past a little bit. How did these guys play against certain defenses? Do they run downhill? Do they get the yard when they have to without needing tush push? Okay, these are the questions you got to ask. Where are the intangibles at? Are these gritty players? Are these players that belong on the bench somewhere? These are questions you got to ask yourselves. Very important things, mind you. Just some wise words from the Bet with Gin sector of GSN. We want to tell you guys, bet responsibly, be smart, throw some pizza money parlays out there. A lot of great odds out there. Okay, realize early in week one who the dog shit teams are. Put teams on your shit list immediately. That doesn't mean don't bet them at all. That doesn't mean don't touch them for the entirety of the season. That means have your radar up. You know who can win and who can't. Okay, now everybody can crumble. Not every team can win the tough games. So keep these things in mind. Try to look out for the red flags, the warning signs, and the confirmations for the positive side. For a lot of these teams that are playing in the early stages of the regular season, they've had the preseason to prove themselves. You might see a couple injuries take place week 1, week 2, week 3. I mean, the whole season there's going to be injuries. How do they bounce back and how do they utilize those players? How good was your note taking in the preseason to realize, okay, now they're starting to use some of their depth because they have to. How well are they utilizing that depth? And you know these guys are waiting for their numbers to be called. Who's going to be ready when their number's called? You should have seen that in the preseason. So keep all that stuff in mind, and we'll leave it at that. I'm not going to talk about the Detroit Lions. I know people want me to talk about the Detroit Lions, and I would, but I got to have my experts on here. I got to have Robert. I got to have Maneric. I got to have Musa. I got to have maybe I'll have Blake someday. Blake's a newcomer in our GSN community. I want to talk to some of these Lions guys. All right, there's a lot of them in my circles that I talk to that I know are Lions guys. They're diehard Lions guys. What are they seeing? Now you got guys with different temperaments. Okay, when it comes to the Detroit Lions, you got people with different temperaments regarding the Detroit Lions. I want to see those different perspectives. You got guys that are more optimistic. You got guys that are more pessimistic. You got guys that think they're in a good spot. They just got to get in the right situations and win the games that are 50-50. You got your guys that are in denial. Okay, that's honestly the worst type of Detroit Lions fan that you can find. And that probably makes up the largest bit of the fan base for the Detroit Lions is the delirious, delusional, in denial Lions fans. That's the majority. And I could be going out on a limb saying that. I'm not saying anybody I know that I would have on this show fits that bill or is in that category. I'm just saying that makes up a large number. And that was me. That was me for a long time. It has to be realized. I was probably one of the biggest Lions fans that I knew at that time. Even looking back Now there was a couple guys that were in that category, the big shot Lions fans that go back way back when. Robert's actually in that very short list, but a couple others would have made the list as well. But I remember those days. I was a huge Lions fan, big time. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I was talking the Caldwell era, and especially the Jim Schwartz era. That was a time where I just really wanted the Lions to win, do well, excel, fix the mistakes. But if we're looking back, that was some of the most disheartening times to watch the Lions because they came so close and they did things so correctly, and it was just too little, too late, too many times. And it wound up being the straw that broke the camel's back. It broke my spirit to become a true Lions fan and to fight it out. Now, you got to understand, before Dan Campbell, a lot of people were fair weather Lions fans. They watched the Lions. They could have gave a shit less if they won or not. But once the Dan Campbell era started, and maybe even before that, a little bit, maybe even some of the Matt Patricia era, God forbid that ever happens again. But during the Dan Campbell era, the early days, that's when a lot of new age, green-nosed Lions fans came to the forefront. And I'm not saying that they're not true Lions fans, because they are. They're as real as the sky is blue and as the world is round. Okay. Now, if I get any flat earthers in my comment section trying to chirp at me, we can have a conversation off stream. But be it as it may, a lot of Lions fans came to the forefront during that time. So they're starting to get a taste right now where they've been facing a lot of adversity. They face adversity in week one. It's a tough pill to swallow. How are they going to bounce back? How are they going to weather the storm? That's what I'm excited to see. And I hope the Lions can bounce back and make a big splash, not only in the NFL, but especially in the NFC North, because that's what they're going to need to do. They got a lot of great teams. One of those being the Minnesota Vikings with a huge comeback win against Ben Johnson and the Bears. Now, you look at something real quick. If you look at something real quick, you have Ben Johnson, you have Aaron Glenn, you have Dan Campbell. All three of these gentlemen in their respected roles lost this past weekend. That's an important analogy to make, a comparison to make, rather. Now you're looking at a couple games that maybe were one-sided. Maybe were one-sided for a good portion of the game, and then the odds flipped. Whatever situation you're thinking of, whatever comparison you're trying to make in your head, these three gentlemen lost. They lost this past weekend. Now, what are they going to do? Who's going to bounce back and be the most successful? Let it be known. Be advised. These three gentlemen, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, and Dan Campbell, they're not used to losing football games together in the recent history of their football coaching careers, whether it be as a coordinator or as a head coach. These guys aren't used to losing a football game. And they're not okay with it. So expect some regime change in very rapid succession within the next week or so, within all three regimes. Okay, I'm talking the Bears, I'm talking the Lions, I'm talking the Jets. Now, the beautiful thing about Ben Johnson is he's going to face Dan Campbell someday. And now Dan Campbell has to hold his head up high, and I'm sure the spirits are high between all three of these individuals, the three musketeers, if you will. There's good spirits, there's high hopes between all of them because they all want to succeed together. Dan knew that Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson were on to bigger and better things, greener pastures at some point. He probably wished it wasn't so soon after having one of the best runs in Detroit Lions history. But he wanted him to go out and grow and become one of their own and become the best that they could be. That's what he wanted to see, and that's what happened. Maybe a little bit too soon, but these guys, they all have to bounce back. They're not used to losing football games, and they're not going to take these losses lightly. So keep that in mind. Now, especially looking at the Bears loss, it looked very much similar actually to the Bills win at against the Ravens, right? Now, we want to see that from Buffalo. We want to see them exceed expectations. We want to see them win games. We want to see, if we're going to stay up, listen, if we're going to stay up and watch a football game and it's late, by golly, do we want to see a game? We want to see it go to the bitter end. We want to see it go all the way to the wire. Now, we saw that last night between the Vikings and the Bears, and we also saw that in a huge AFC matchup between the Bills and the Ravens. Huge comeback win. That's a little mini rivalry that's coming up, I think, in the coming months. This is something that is in the works. This is something that has been brewing for quite some time. And it's very similar. I don't think it's quite as prestigious as the Bills-Chiefs rivalry that I think is already brewing into something of a rivalry on its own. But people are turning heads at the Buffalo Bills and especially Josh Allen. People are beginning to look. And now they've been looking for a long time. It's a lot of the same stuff. It's a lot of the clutch gameplay, a lot of the putting my life on the line type of plays, and going up against tiny margins to make big plays and big moments. Okay, it's a lot of the same when it comes to that. So the Bills are on their radar, and same with the Vikings. I mean, you're talking about showing a lot of grit. That can be said about the Buffalo Bills. That can be said about the Minnesota Vikings and other teams. Obviously, these are the two most notable games, in my opinion, that I had the pleasure to watch to the bitter end, just because it was such a thrill to watch it in week one, to see it transpire, to see these teams face off, to witness the coaches and the coordinators deal with the clock, handle clock management, handle personnel, handle big penalties when they mattered, capitalize on shortcomings that the opponent made. Everything and all of it. We got it in these two games. So take notes. Take notes of that. Take notes of the clutch ability. That's something that is not going to show up on a stat sheet. That's something that's going to be put in your intangibles category. So take note of these intangibles, these and others, clutch ability being one of them, athleticism, and power to get through the line and just basically create yards out of nothing. That's an intangible quality. So take note of these. And when you're looking at schemes, you're looking at offensive schemes, when you're looking at offensive players, when you're looking at coaches and coordinators, a lot of these things have to be compiled. Now, if they don't aspire and they don't deliver with expectations being met, then that's when you can look back at your list and your notes and say, okay, they're better than that. I know they're better than that. I've seen better than that in more dire situations, and we didn't get it this week. And that's okay. It's going to happen. That's the problem, actually, is a lot of times coaches, coordinators, and especially more than anyone, players, they exceed expectations early in the season, and then they dwindle off into nothingness as the season progresses. That's the worst thing that can happen to a team. It's the worst thing that can happen to a player. And especially when you're talking about fantasy draft stock, it's the worst thing that can happen to them as well. You see it all the time where players are the guy to have, whether it be a running back, whether it be a tight end, whether it be a quarterback, whether it be a wide receiver. Mostly, we're talking about skill positions here. They go off a couple weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You can count on them. You think you can count on them the entire season. Then the following year, they're nowhere near where they used to be. And these things happen. The drop-off is real when it comes to fantasy football, and it happens. So that's where you have to be agile and make those moves and see the smoke and mirrors, and witness the writing on the wall, because you have to see through the bullshit. Put on your tunnel vision blinders and see through the fog, because it's very important, especially in fantasy. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. This is something that I can't believe I just realized, and it's very important because it has to do with the game of golf, and it has to do with weight transfer. Now, when you swing the golf club, you swing back, you go on your back foot. Now, I've talked about weight transfer before on this channel, and it really hasn't changed much. The only thing that has changed is when you move your weight to your back leg, you are coming through, and you have to have an action to come through. All right. Now, what I was doing wrong is I was getting stagnant. After I was going back, I'm very much staying back. I'm staying solidified on my back leg, my back side. What you have to do is you have to consciously bring that weight forward towards the center, not through the center where you're going to swing completely through the ball and your shoulders are going to open up and all that. You don't want that to happen. You want to come back to center, and then you want to keep your head still. Swing through the golf ball. Let the shoulder dictate what the head does next. So you're swinging back to your back leg, and then through, consciously through. You're bringing the feet, you're bringing the lower body, but you're also bringing the arms and everything, all in one motion, back to the center. You can't get stagnant. You can't get comfortable by staying in the back of your stance on the back foot. You're not going to get the transfer you need, and you're missing out on a lot of power. So make sure you're doing that. Do some practice swings in the yard, whatever, what have you, and you'll be happy with the results. I think it's going to take some time. Listen, Rome wasn't built in a day. You have to acknowledge that. You have to come to that realization really quick when it comes to the game of golf, especially when it comes to anything that you want to get better at. Rome wasn't built in a day, folks. So to have any inclination that it was is asinine. It's crazy. So put that same mentality forth when you're talking about getting better at the game of golf, or any sport, or any activity that you want to get better at. These things take time. Chip away slowly but surely. Take baby steps, but always move closer to the goal. That's the mentality you should have. Be process driven, not product driven. Very much along the same lines as that. So I wish you Godspeed in your adventure. We have the Gin Sports Network Challenge 6 this Saturday, the 13th of September, 2025. We hope to see you guys all out there and competing for the jackets, the two-man scramble event of the summer, the premier two-man scramble golf event of the summer. And yes, it's still summer. Okay, we got a couple more days before the fall hits. We're going to enjoy every day that we have. So come out there, join the fun, take part in a great event for a great cause, and get registered before tomorrow at midnight. That's when registration closes, and last arrangements will be made to basically seal the deal before Saturday as far as registrations and players go. So get registered before it's too late, before those final preparations are made on the back end. And we hope to see you out there. Good deal. We'll leave it at that. Make sure to check us out on social media at Gin Sports Network on IG. Find us on our website, ginsportsnetwork.com. Find me on Twitter and IG at Gin Commish, as you can see at the bottom of your screen. We'll see you guys here next time. Thank you so much for tuning into Double Coverage, the premier NFL podcast of the Gin Sports Network. I'm your host, John J. II. We'll see you here next time. Have a great night.